I want to go back to something that Michael Kimmel talked about this morning, which I talk a lot about, unconscious advocacy. That's basically what came out of my research at Columbia, which is that men play natural roles as allies. And Michael Kimmel said that every man has a genetic connection to a woman. So can you talk a little bit about how having a daughter, in just this example, or any other connection you have to a woman through natural relationships, has reinforced and strengthened your position?
When I was approached a year ago by HR, right about the same time, I was talking to my wife, who's also here today, about, Megan, she does like circus arts, believe it or not, of all things. I had no idea, but she does like the ribbons and flips and contortion, all kinds of stuff. Well, she's
Megan's your daughter.
Megan's my daughter, sorry. And so she's in a leotard, and she had come home very upset about her body because a lot of the other girls in the circus arts happened to be thinner than her. And she's 9 or 10 years old at the time, and it was like, it hit me with a ton of bricks that the responsibility I have raising a daughter is beyond just food, shelter, and I do coach her softball, but it's more than just coaching her softball. I have to show her how to have confidence and be empowered and be comfortable. I mean, at the age of 10, you shouldn't, like, she loves life so much, she shouldn't have to be dealing with body image issues. It was just really eye-opening for me. And so when HR approached me, I had all this like passion and frustration, and this was like a perfect outlet that just kind of fed right into it. Yep. They've created a monster. I'm on fire.
That's great. Yes.
So my wife couldn't be here because she's a clinical psychologist, and she works with refugee populations, and the gender issues there, they're well ingrained, and I'm fortunate to have somebody to remind me at home every time I step out of line. So she's here in spirit. It was wonderful raising the two daughters, Monica and Allie, and they're great, and I think I was aware of the issues, intellectually, academically, of the challenges that girls face growing up. So I thought I and her mom and our family did everything we could to reinforce them in positive ways, and I think it paid off, and they're incredible people. My younger daughter, Allie, went to, started work in some of the tech companies, and so she worked for Google, and she worked for Autodesk, and for a while she worked for a startup in which there were 11 employees and one woman, her, and she faced a lot of stuff, and it was pretty tough on her for that. So that was a case where it kind of hit me in the heart, what she was going through, and I just wanted to, kind of take those guys and, kind of teach them a good male lesson and so forth. But eventually she left the company and moved on. I have two boys who are 12 and 13, so this is an interesting age. And the way boys feel about girls in middle school and some of the things that they say. So it's been really instructive and interesting to be the father of daughters, and those are their sisters, to remind them when they say stuff and do things that it's really important for them as young men to empower their sisters in school and in life, and to be, in every way, they're the allies of the girls who are part of their lives, and not in any way try to take them down or do some of the things boys have a tendency to do at that very kind of tender age. So it's been kind of a wonderful balance in seeing both sides of that.
To what end do you bring in your work with Manning Up and the forums, and maybe even with your work with some of the 275 CEOs you work with, to what degree do you bring up the heart? And both of you spoke very openly just now with a lot of feeling. How does that come up when you have your discussions?
Yeah, that's where we start. So the storytelling, it's all about, you have to be vulnerable. And I talk about my daughter, and just to kind of set the tone for the other men in the room, because a lot of them are, they're kind of stiff, kind of going, what's going on here? The other thing, I made the mistake that was brought up earlier, is I tried to do this with just men talking about it, and like within a week, I had so many articles sent to me on how that was the wrong way to approach it, and so we course corrected quickly. That's how I got. That's how Angela got engaged. But yeah, it all starts there, and when you go around the room, you learn about these people. I've known a lot of them for 14 years. Some of them, you learn a different side of them, and then when you have the conversation, it comes from a place of more trust and openness, and you can just have a more real discussion about it.
Yeah, for us, it really started with making the business case, because I needed to get the board on board to do this work. And, there were folks on the board who wanted to do it, but there were some who were, concerned that it would kind of take us off course and that kind of thing. And some of those people were women, by the way, who either felt that way or felt they should say that. And so when we had that initial debate about it, for a little while, it was all talking about the business case, but it morphed. And over time, it really has been a discussion that can be about business, but it can also be about feelings. It can be about experiences. It can be about the stories that people like Jon are telling about what is happening in the various companies, and it's very, very diverse.
That's great. Thank you both so much. In the interest of time, we're going to move on. I'd like to close by saying manning up for gender inclusion at Blue Shield and a breadth of policy, legislation, and BayAreaCouncil.org, a lot of resources. Look what can happen when men care and do take a proactive stance. So thank you both so much for your time and for all that you do. And have a great rest of the day.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Real pleasure. Thank you.